What's going on? Welcome back to the Jam Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Jordan McCray. It's been a while since I actually recorded an episode for you guys. Usually we're on the Apple Podcast, but I want to tap into the YouTube space, and we actually have some video for the first time on this podcast. If you watch my other podcast, the Tapped In one, when I'm with Diego, we always got the video going, and I think that it's important that you guys are able to see me talk about my passionate sports takes that I always have. So I got a lot of things to get into. Unfortunately, my Yankees, they fell to the Dodgers in 5 games. The Dodgers won 4-1, and unlike the series score of 4-1, it was actually a very close series, and I believe the Dodgers outscored the Yankees in this series like 26-25, something like only by 1 run, and they won by a margin of 4-1. How does that even happen? There's a lot of things that went wrong in this series. What I have to say is that the Dodgers were the better team. I mean, if you look at that lineup, Shohei Ohtani, the DH, leading off, he didn't have the greatest series, but it didn't even matter. They still won 4 games, and Shohei Ohtani had 2 hits in this whole series. It's actually insane to think about. But Mookie Betts, he gets his 3rd ring. What a dog. Had some valuable hits in this postseason. And then Freddie Freeman. Oh, my God. Freddie Freeman batting the 3-hole. He single-handedly probably crushed our dreams after that Game 1 Grand Slam. And I'm going to get into all that, but I'm just doing like a series recap right now as I think back on things through my memory. So Freddie Freeman dogged us. Had like 3 straight games or maybe 4 straight games with a home run to start the series. I mean, he just came well prepared. You could see the Dodgers players, they've all been there before. Freddie Freeman's a World Series champion. Mookie Betts was a 2-time champion before this year's World Series. And Shohei Ohtani, he's won in Japan. So you can't say that they are afraid of the big game. They've all been there at some point. And Shohei Ohtani also just clutched his team, the World Baseball Classic, a couple months ago before the season started. So when you have that type of championship pedigree against a team like the New York Yankees, who historically have the championship pedigree, the guys on the roster have not been on the big stage, besides Juan Soto. I mean, Garrett Cole's been there too, but when you look at their lineup, their batting order, Gleyber Torres, for this season been is Game 7 of the ALCS, right? Juan Soto's been there before. Okay, he's an outlier. Aaron Judge, Game 7 of the ALCS. You go down this lineup, Anthony Volpe in his 2nd year, a bunch of young players. Alex Verdugo never made it to that stage. And you could kind of sense the inexperience with some of these players when it got to that stage. Yes, you could beat the Kansas City Royals in the division series. Yes, you could beat the Cleveland Guardians in the championship series. But once you get to that World Series, it's just a different animal. All the pressure is on. All hands are on deck. You're playing the Los Angeles Dodgers. It's East versus West. And when it became time to step up, one team stepped up and the other team did not step up. And the Los Angeles Dodgers, they just do the little things, They run the bases well. They throw out runners. They play exceptional defense. Tommy Edman, I think he bats 7th in their lineup, always making the right plays. And when you compare that to the Yankees, constant errors. I mean, we could go back to Game 5. You're up 5-0. I believe it's the 4th inning or 5th inning. And you make 3 errors with 2, not with 2 outs, but you make 3 errors, you're not going to win games against teams doing that, and especially against a team like the Dodgers. They run hard after every out. You've seen Mookie Betts, he hits almost like a bunt-like ball down the line, and he's sprinting to first. Garrett Cole, for some reason, doesn't cover the bag. Rizzo takes his time and grounds the ball, and Mookie is safe. Things like that cannot happen when you're playing the Dodgers. It just can't. And they take advantage of all the mistakes that you make. And that's all the Dodgers did all series long. Yankees shoot themselves in the foot. Dodgers take over. And when you have 2 teams that are so close to each other in skill level, the little things are going to win you the whole thing. So it was just really disappointing to watch as a Yankees fan. You try to have hope. And after Game 1, Freddie Freeman goes in there and hits a grand slam. How do you have any hope as a Yankees fan after that? You feel like you just been robbed of something, It's Game 1. You're in LA. You feel like we might rob them and win a game. This will be huge, to go into LA, Game 1 of the World Series and win a game. and it just gets taken from you. And we could debate the Aaron Boone. Why do you not put Tim Hill in, someone who's been consistent for you these whole playoffs? Why do you not put him in that situation? You go to Nestor Cortez, who hasn't pitched in a month. He's risking his career to pitch in this World Series. He says that, it'll be worth it for me to pitch. I might have to get surgery. I might not ever be the same, but I want to pitch in the World Series. And you put him against the top of the Dodgers lineup, the top of their order, in game 1 of the World Series. That's not the spot. And I don't even blame Nestor Cortez that he gave up those hits. It's just not the spot at all. You're not putting your players in a position to win in that instance. And I remember I'm watching the game with my dad, and there's 2 people up in the bullpen. All 2 people. Like, I'm already saying, let's get Tim Hill in there. He's a lefty. It'd be good to face Ohtani. He could face Freeman. It almost makes too much sense. But we have 2 lefties up, and the other one is Nestor Cortez. And I'm like, why do we have Nestor Cortez warming up? I mean, he hasn't pitched in forever. And in a situation like this, so high leverage, they actually go to Nestor Cortez. And once they did it, I was at a loss for words. But, I'm still, like, excited. I'm like, we're 1 out away from winning game 1 of the World Series. But no, first pitch, fastball inside. Freddie Freeman hits it out to the seats. And you know what my dad told me? We just lost a series. And, like, I'm listening to him. I'm like, probably, right? I'm thinking probably. But, everyone still has hope. That's only game 1. But, man, you can't tell me that everyone wasn't thinking kind of the same thing. Like, all that momentum, you have a chance to win the first game of the World Series on the road. Because, in baseball, if you're on the road in a playoff series, your goal is to split one of the first 2 games. You split one of the first 2 games, then you get 3 straight games at home. And the Yankees were 1 out away from doing that. And because of a stupid decision, in my opinion, that Aaron Boone made, going with Nestor Cortez, someone who's only thrown simulated baseball games. You cannot compare simulated baseball games against not real batters to Shohei Ohtani, Mookie Betts, and Freddie Freeman. You just can't compare it. So I didn't like, he's been progressing well. He's been throwing good against simulated batters. These aren't simulated batters. These are some of the best batters in the whole sport. The Dodgers lineup is one of the most insane lineups we've ever seen in the history in baseball. And you put Nestor Cortez out there, who hasn't pitched in a month. I could talk about this for the rest of the episode. It doesn't add up to me. And after the Yankees lose that game, I'm already, I'm at shock, but I'm thinking about, damn, tomorrow we have Carlos Rodon on the bump, and Carlos Rodon has been nothing but inconsistent for the Yankees. Hasn't been able to show up, so I didn't really feel confident about what we were going to be able to do. And, of course, Rodon gets lit up. Yanks lose game 2. We're down 2-0. It's not looking good, but there's still a slimmer of hope because, we got 3 games at the Bronx. And then game 3, Luis Hill. Who pitched game 3? I'm trying to remember. Let's look it up. Clark Schmidt. Clark Schmidt, someone who is notoriously better on the road than he is at home. We give him the ball at home. For some reason, his numbers aren't the same at home. He just can't pitch as good as home. But I'm not going to get on the Yankees for doing that. He's been a consistent starter this year. I trust him in that spot. But, he didn't deliver. When you're going through a lineup like the Dodgers, just so many people, you got someone like Will Smith batting 8th. It's hard to ask any pitcher to get all these outs for you, but he just couldn't do it. The Yankees actually almost rallied late in that game. We got a couple base runners in the 9th inning, but it almost felt like it was too late. And one of the biggest things about this series was Aaron Judge. Someone who's carried us the whole season. Without Aaron Judge, we don't get to the World Series. His performance in the regular season was one of the greatest things I ever watched. People were saying that it was the best since Barry Bonds. I wouldn't know. I didn't watch Barry Bonds in his prime, but that's how good the numbers were. And when the postseason showed up, Aaron Judge just went missing. He had that big home run against the Guardians, and we ended up losing that game anyways. But still, the whole postseason, where was Aaron Judge? He couldn't hit anything. He was one of the worst hitters between both lineups. And actually, Shohei Ohtani, the final numbers, his numbers weren't good either. But people are probably going to blame that he dislocated his shoulder or whatever. But still, Aaron Judge did not produce on the biggest stage in the biggest moments of his career. And it was apparent, the Dodgers are intentionally walking Juan Soto to face Aaron Judge, and Aaron Judge doesn't make them pay. if you want to beat a team like the Dodgers, your stars are going to have to do what they're paid to do. We're paying Aaron Judge $300 million. He has to perform at the biggest stage, and he just didn't. Juan Soto performed. Shohei Ohtani didn't perform, but Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman did. Teoscar Hernandez, they all did. All these guys with big contracts, they all performed at the biggest stage, and Judge didn't rise to the occasion. And honestly, it breaks my heart. Someone who's been watching Judge since his rookie season, he's finally got a shot in the World Series, and he just didn't get it going. And then finally in Game 5, when he finally puts the bat together and he starts hitting the ball hard, he had 2 hits in this game. He drops a fly ball. That was the beginning of the worst possible situation ever. How do you drop a routine fly ball? So when Judge finally gives you the offense for once in this whole postseason, what happens? He substitutes his defense for it, and he starts a chaotic inning. I could talk about that inning forever. I mean, I'm just watching it, and you're almost feeling numb, you know. You earlier in the series, you go down 3-0. You're not expecting to win anyways, but we're obviously all fans. We're going to still watch. We get Game 4 thanks to Volpe. Volpe with a grand slam. Yankee Stadium was electric. You wouldn't think that we were a team that was down 3-0 against the Dodgers. Yankee Stadium was absolutely electric, right? So we win that game. Great performance by Volpe. He stepped up. The whole bottom of the order actually stepped up. Austin Wells had a home run after not being able to hit a thing for 2 weeks. He stepped up. Volpe stepped up. Verdugo stepped up. So we won Game 4 thanks to the bottom of our lineup. The top of the lineup, our big three, Judge, Stanton, Soto, they didn't do anything in Game 4. So heading into Game 5, you started. Garrett Cole pitches a shutout first inning. Then Judge gets up and he hits a massive home run, 403 feet. I still remember it. I'm like, oh my God, this is happening. Judge, he's turning up. We got Garrett Cole on the mound. We already gave Garrett Cole an early lead. This is the game. Like, Cole's on the mound. He has an early lead. Judge is hitting. How could this go wrong? And it just does. And when you're watching it unfold, it's almost so unbelievable. You don't even know what to say. Judge drops the fly ball. Okay, whatever. Still 0 runs on the board. Then a ball's hit to Anthony Volpe. And this is ruled an error, but I don't even know if I want to call it an error because it was a hard play. Like, someone's running in front of him. He's trying to get the ball to Jazz. It's a hard play. Jazz is learning third base for the first time. That's a rough play. But what happened between Garrett Cole and Anthony Rizzo and the ball being hit down the first baseline, the fact that Garrett Cole does not cover the bag and run to first to help Rizzo put him out is unexcusable. I can't even put it into words how disgusted I was when I watched that. And I appreciate Garrett Cole for the effort he put out that night. He pitched really hard, and 0 unearned runs from him. All the runs scored were unearned. So it wasn't technically his fault, but in that situation, you're up 5-0. You could get out of an inning. Bases are loaded. You have to run and cover that bag. I don't care if you're tired. It's just the little effort plays that the Yankees couldn't make that the Dodgers always made. And that was the difference in this whole series. In a 4-1 series, effort and defense is what costed the Yankees this World Series. Simple, routine, shortstop plays, double plays that the Dodgers are making. Tommy Edman is sliding, making these great, tremendous plays to help his pitchers out. The Yankees couldn't do, and that's ultimately why the Yankees lost this World Series. And now all of our focus shifts towards, are we going to be able to re-sign Juan Soto? The Yankees need to do whatever they need to do, pay him however much he wants to re-sign Juan Soto. You cannot have the season you just had where you go to the World Series for the first time in 15 years, and Juan Soto is one of the main reasons you get that far, and let him walk. I don't know what the numbers are going to be. Some people are saying $700 million. I think $700 million is a lot. I wouldn't be surprised, but when you think about it, Shohei's making $700 million, but that makes sense. I mean, he's an otherworldly talent who could bat, hit the ball almost 500 feet, and he could strike out your best pitcher. $700 million makes sense for him. If I had to guess for Juan Soto, I'd say anywhere $600 million, $650. But whatever the price is, I think you have to pay it as the Yankees. We have a top 3 payroll. Juan Soto is worth the talent to spend all this money. I mean, look at the season Aaron Judge had. You're telling me Aaron Judge is going to have as good as a season as he had? Like, great. If Juan Soto isn't batting in front of him? No. And vice versa. Juan Soto had the best season of his career. And it's because they help each other. It's protection. You have Soto to Judge 3. That's lethal. And they're going to help each other. And whoever, let's say Juan Soto goes to a different team, whoever you're going to sign with all the money you have is not going to be able to replace Juan Soto. No matter anyone in baseball, they're not going to be able to replicate what Juan Soto did for this team. So I think the Yankees got to make it happen. We're not a small market team. We're the New York Yankees. You got to go out. You have to re-sign Juan Soto. No ifs, ands, or buts. Juan Soto just had a post-game after the last game of the World Series. He's very well media trained. He didn't give any type of budging or anything saying, oh, I love being a Yankee. I want to stay here for life. No, Scott Boras is his agent. They definitely practiced this before. He said all 30 teams have an equal opportunity to sign me. It's just, it depends about the money. And I respect him for that because he wants to make the most money. And some people think, oh, the Yankees have the championship pedigree, the history. He'll take a discount. Someone like Juan Soto, I don't know if he's going to take that discount because other teams are going to be willing to offer him money. And this is the one thing he said in his post-game. I want to go to a winner. All the teams that are winners have the money to spend. The Mets were 2 games away from the World Series. Steve Cohen has the most money in baseball. He's the owner for the Mets. You don't think Steve Cohen's going to give Juan Soto a bag or offer him the bag? He is. Even the Los Angeles Dodgers, even though I don't know how this would be fair, they said they're interested in Soto. They're going to, drive up the price. Even if they don't even sign him, they could drive up the price. So just those 2 teams alone, they could sign him. The Yankees need to do whatever they need to do and keep Juan Soto in pinstripes. It would be a catastrophe to let this dude go after the season he had. And just the clutch gene, I talk about Judge, how great he was in the regular season, and I appreciate Aaron Judge, one of the greatest Yankees I've ever seen. We've seen that from Soto, and we've seen him show up consistently throughout the whole postseason. Consistently hit there, a hit here. Just, getting on base, walking. Just someone like, there's no drop-off between regular season Juan Soto and postseason Juan Soto. And someone like me, I love that. You know what I'm saying? He's just consistently a dog when it comes to the game of baseball. Someone like Stanton doesn't really always play in the regular season, but when he gets to the postseason, he turns up. With Juan Soto, you're getting a turned up guy in the regular season and the postseason, and that's something I just appreciate. He's an absolute gamer, and he's going to do it consistently throughout the whole season. But I do want to give a shout out to Stanton because without Stanton, we probably don't make it to the World Series this year. Clutch hit after clutch hit. I forgot the stat. I think he had 7 home runs this postseason. It tied like a Yankee record. Just unreal. Like every single moment you think that another team is going to walk Stanton because they could fish Chisholm or Austin Wells behind him, Stanton just hits it out of the park. He didn't have an amazing World Series, but throughout the whole postseason and throughout his whole Yankee tenure, he's always risen to the occasion. And I always can appreciate someone when the games mean a little bit more, you step up. And that's exactly what Giancarlo Stanton did. So, I mean, he's going to be a Yankee for the rest of his career. As it seems, he has a no-trade clause. The way he played throughout this postseason, I think it makes up for the last 3-4 years of, oh, I don't want Stan on my team. You know, all these Yankee fans saying he's always hurt. Yeah, he might always be hurt. He might strike out a lot. His lows are, when he is struggling, his lows get really low. But when he's succeeding, he's one of the hottest of the hot. You can't get this dude out. And consistently we see this in the postseason with him. So shout out to Stanton. I want to say shout out to Volpe. I mean, a couple errors here and there, but in the World Series, in the biggest stage with the world watching, everyone knows this kid grew up a Yankees fan. I'm not going to say he single-handedly won us Game 4, but he willed us. So I want to say shout out to Volpe. You know, that's huge from a second-year player. But other than that, I want to see a lot of changes to this lineup. I think Gleyber Torres, I don't think he's going to be with the Yankees anymore. It's the last year of his contract, and obviously, if you assume we sign Soto, we're not going to have money to give Gleyber Torres the type of money he warrants. So, Gleyber Torres, unfortunately, it's been a good run, but I don't think he's going to be a Yankee anymore. I think this is Rizzo's last year. I like Rizzo as a person. I know him and Judge are very close, but I think we need to explore other options when it comes to first base. And yeah, catcher, Austin Wells, hot at some moments, cold in some moments. I still want to see him develop, but I wouldn't be upset if we went out there and signed a catcher. Austin Wells isn't stopping me from signing a premier catcher. What do you think?
Austin Wells is a great catcher. I think he's as far as his numbers and the way like him being behind the plate, I think he's great. Defensive catcher, he's amazing.
Yeah, no.
Batting wise, he's
Hot and cold.
Season.
Yeah.
And then like in the playoffs, like everybody else towards the end of the season was swaying away. And that's also gonna give Trevino time too. Trevino, I think we should get rid of.
I agree. Trevino, here's the problem with Trevino. He has a bat. Like, his bat isn't bad, but he cannot throw anyone out. He's an absolute liability when it comes to defense. And that's the reason he didn't get really any playing time at all. It was like we were in the worst position because Wells, who has the ability to hit, wasn't hitting, right? But he could play the great defense. Trevino has some of the ability to hit. Maybe could have hit throughout the playoffs, but his defense was so bad that it wasn't worth putting him in because teams are going to run all over you. Anytime that Trevino was catching, teams started to steal even more because they know this guy's not throwing me out. So you put Aaron Boone in an impossible position because one catcher is not giving you productivity on offense and the other one can't do anything on defense. So the catcher was almost like a zero for us in these playoffs, and it's just unfortunate. But I do like Wells. He is going to be back. But Trevino probably should be let go. It just... I like Glaber, but I just don't think we're going to ultimately pay him. Offensively, I think he's also like a liability. He's kind of lackadaisical when it comes to defense and too nonchalant. But, the bat made up for it for most of this postseason. And, like, to close out the regular season, Gleyber Torres was hot. So, I like his bat. I think if he could be more consistent, he'd be a great player. But I'm not going to sit here and debate, Gleyber Torres needs to be re-signed. I'm not going to say that. If he is re-signed, that's great. If he's let go and we go on a different option, I'm fine with that. I think they're going to ultimately move Jazz Chisholm II, which they should do. I think he'd be more comfortable there. And then we should probably end up signing a third baseman because we know DJ LeMahieu's on the team, but he's not the option. He's just old. It's sad to see what happened to DJ, but we don't want to have to rely on him doing anything. So let's say Chisholm II if we get rid of Glaber. If he comes back, that's nice. But, yeah, the Yankees, I mean, unfortunate the World Series went the way it did, but I'm still proud of the season. It was a great season. Finally, great to get back to the World Series. First time I ever witnessed my team in the World Series, and I could actually comprehend what's going on. It's a different feeling when your team's in a championship game. I mean, me being a Giants fan in football and a Knicks fan, I don't really know what that feels like since I've been watching. So, watching your team make it all the way and then just come so short, it's gut-wrenching. But, you re-sign Soto, I think, and make some changes throughout this lineup. I think you put yourself in a good position to make it back to that spot. But you have to re-sign Soto. Like, that's, like, priority. Like, it needs to happen. About the Yankees, I want to transition into the Giants now. My New York Giants, they're 2-6 on the season. I didn't really know what to expect coming into this football year, Daniel Jones gets hurt last year. Tommy DeVito wins 3 games for us, which are the worst 3 wins in franchise history, and I'm going to explain why. But, so I don't know what to expect as a Giants fan coming into this year. Daniel Jones is coming back. I didn't really want him on the team, but, we paid him all this money. We got to see what it is, whatever. Jones proves us right. He's just not the guy. Can't play, can't make any reads down the field, he can't spread the ball. Brian Daboll, every presser, stresses explosive plays. They practice it. Brian Daboll says we practice this. But every time they get on the field and it's time to make an explosive play, it doesn't happen. And as a quarterback, you have to elevate people on your team. You have to pick up those around you and lead your team. And, the argument about Jones throughout his 6-year tenure with the Giants is he doesn't have enough help, whether that's the offensive line, receivers, etc. And those things could be true. The offensive line was terrible while Jones was here. But if you're a good quarterback in the NFL, you're going to elevate the talent around you. You look at young quarterbacks like C.J. Stroud and other guys. C.J. Stroud came into a situation with the Texans that was terrible, but his talent was able to uplift other people around him and make them a good NFL team. And that's what franchise quarterbacks do. And we already know Daniel Jones is not a franchise quarterback. It's obvious. This is his last year with the Giants. But, man, I'm tired of watching him play quarterback. It's just hard to look at. Receivers are open. He's throwing the ball high. Can't make a read. Has no pocket presence. Just things like that you would talk about maybe a rookie or a second-year quarterback mistakes. It's been 6 years of this. I've been watching Daniel Jones as quarterback for my football team since I was a freshman in high school. I'm in my second year of college, and this stuff is still going on. We look around the NFL, quarterbacks' leashes are shorter than ever now. We have Anthony Richardson, who got benched maybe 10 games into his career. He's only started 10 because he got hurt last year, and he played a couple games this year, got hurt again. And then we seen the viral clip where Anthony Richardson comes out of a game and the reporters ask him why did he come out, and he was like, "Oh, I was tired. Not a good look, whatever." But quarterbacks' leashes are shorter than ever. Bryce Young gets benched. He was the number 1 overall pick last year in the draft. He got benched in his second year. Why does Daniel Jones have a 6-year leash? It makes no sense to me. And people could say, "Oh, he is the best quarterback on the roster," and that might be true. He's better than Drew Lock. He's better than Tommy DeVito. But at the end of the day, the results aren't there for me to say, why not try Drew Lock? Why not put DeVito in? He's just not producing. And he's finally got a receiver. Malik Neighbors is a dog. I mean, he might have a few drops here and there, but he's a rookie. He gets open. He's always open. Darius Slayton is a good receiver in this league, also with the drop problem, but still gets open. There's talent around this team now. And before Andrew Thomas got hurt, we had a good offensive line. And that's not an exaggeration. It was a good offensive line. We signed Illuminor as right tackle. There was time for Daniel to throw, but there was still a lack of explosive plays. And when you have a good offensive line and you can't make things happen, what's the excuse now? The excuse for years, offensive line, no talent. We had that coming into this year and the same consistent problem. So I'm calling for Daniel Jones to be benched. It makes sense to bench him because if he gets hurt this year, his contract next year becomes guaranteed. We can't afford that. It's not like he's winning us games. It's not like we're in a playoff race right now. The season's most likely over. We're 2-6. I think we pulled the plug on Jones now. Just sit him down. If he's going to say, "Oh, you're sitting me because of the injury guaranteed, you can't do that," I want to see him argue that. Because if you also look at the stats, he's not producing in the stats department either. So it's not just like, "Oh, we're screwing him over." No, you're not playing good football. You need to sit down. I like Brian Daboll as a coach. I think he knows how to coach an offense. But when you have a quarterback that restricts you so much, there's only so much you could do calling plays. Coaches call plays. Players have to execute. And Daniel Jones does not execute. But on the brighter side, rookie Tyron Tracy against the Steelers ran for 145 yards. This is someone who spent 6 years in college, was a receiver for 5 of those years, became a running back in his last year, and now he's producing in the NFL. He was the Giants' 4th or 5th round draft pick, and it just makes me happy to see that Joe Schoen, our general manager, the New York Giants general manager, had a great draft. Let's go through it right now. Malik Neighbors, number 5 overall pick. He's a dog at receiver, right? 2nd round pick, Tyler Nubin, safety. He's been on the quieter side, but he makes consistent plays, tackles, does what he needs to do. You know, he replaces Xavier McKinney, who we let go, and that's good. He's a starter. He plays all the snaps. Two good draft picks. Then we get into the 3rd round. Who did the Giants select in the 3rd round? I don't know if we took Theo Johnson in the 3rd round or if that was the 4th round, but Theo Johnson's been producing. A lot of people say they like Theo Johnson. He's a tall tight end. He can run routes. He can catch the ball. I like what I'm seeing. Then we get to the 4th round. Andrew Phillips. Andrew Phillips has been a great nickelback for the Giants. He's a great tackler, and he's been one of the best rookie corners in the league. So Joe Schoen had a phenomenal draft, and that's why I don't think the Giants should fire Joe Schoen. I think he knows what he's doing. I think he's very good at drafting. I think he's good at scouting. And we just have to get the cancer off the team, Daniel Jones, and then the evaluation really starts. And that's why I also think Brian Dable should stay there. Because are we going to let Daniel Jones get Pat Shurmur fired, Joe Judge fired, and Brian Dable? We're going to let him get 3 coaches fired? Why don't we move on from the quarterback? I've never seen that before, where a quarterback has all this leeway where he's getting 3 different coaches fired before he loses his job. You know what I'm saying? So it doesn't make sense for the Giants to get rid of Brian Dable. You know he knows how to coach an offense. You just got to get him a quarterback. So when it comes to the Giants, general manager security and head coaching security, I think they should both come back. Joe Schoen had more than a great draft last year for me to be convinced he could do the job. So, and the defense, I want to talk about the defense because the defense has been lights out. You know, Russell Wilson had a good game against our defense, but still, we're like leading the league in sacks, or we're top 2 in sacks. Shane Bowen, we brought him in. He starts off slow. It's kind of ironic, though, because the first 2 games of the season for the New York Giants, we played the Minnesota Vikings and the Washington Commanders. And we gave up points to both of those teams. And the Giants start off 0-2. We're like, how could we start off 0-2 against the Commanders and the Vikings? But little do we know, the Vikings started off the season like 5-0. They're a good team. The Commanders are an elite team. Jaden Daniels has stepped up to the occasion. I remember watching week 2. The Commanders scored 7 field goals. They score every time they touch the ball. I'm like, Shane Bowen, what are you doing with this defense? But that's just props to the Washington Commanders offense. You know, Cliff Kingsbury has those boys executing. But ever since those first 2 games, the Giants defense has been on fire, leading the league in sacks. Dexter Lawrence has 9.5 sacks, or whatever the number is. He's a defensive tackle. He's a nose tackle. He shouldn't be doing that, but he's a generational player. Azeez Ojulari has played a big role since Kayvon Thibodeau got hurt in week 4. He has 6 sacks on the season. Brian Burns has 5 sacks on the season. We're getting production from all over the defensive line, and I love it because in the offseason, we let Xavier McKinney go, and I love McKinney. I have a McKinney jersey. But I didn't kill Joe Schoen over letting him go because you cannot pay safeties $18.5 million when you have no pass rush, when you have no offensive line. So when Joe Schoen's making the tough decision of not paying Saquon Barkley and not paying Xavier McKinney, I understand it because it's apparent now what he was doing. He's allocating funds to both lines. The defensive line has improved tremendously. We're leading the league in sacks. It was worth it. We drafted a rookie who could step into McKinney's role. Yeah, he might not get as many interceptions, but the secondary doesn't matter as much when you're constantly getting pressure to the quarterback. And that's what the Giants have been doing. And I love every second of it. And I like Shane Bowen. And I hope he's going to be here next year because the defense knows what they're doing. Obviously, the defense isn't going to hold teams to under 20 points every game. That's not how the modern day NFL works. If you have an offense that could score at least 20, your defense is going to do their job. But the Giants offense cannot score. So it may have the Giants defense looking worse than it really is. So Joe Schoen makes the decision not to sign Saquon Barkley. And yes, Saquon Barkley comes back into MetLife Stadium, runs for the second most yards in his career against us. He shit on us, right? Would I sign Saquon Barkley? Would I do it? Would I do what happened again? Yes, I wouldn't sign him. He's a great player. He deserves his money, but the Giants couldn't afford to sign him when you already are paying a quarterback who's not good enough. Now you're going to tie your hands to a running back who's about to be 28 years old and give him $15 million like the Eagles. It's just not the spot for us. We had to go sign John Runyon. We had to go sign Jermaine Illuminor. So I think Joe Schoen did the right thing. It hurts me that he had to go to the Eagles, but at the end of the day, the Giants couldn't pay him. And I see what the Giants are doing. They're trying to build both of the lines. And the lines are what are supposed to win you football games. If you have a good offensive line, and you have a good defensive line, you're usually going to win you football games. And that's what the Giants kind of had going on during the beginning of the season. But then Andrew Thomas, one of the best left tackles in the league, got hurt. And once Thomas gets hurt, teams are going to tee off on Josh Azudu on left tackle. So I can't really blame them. But I like what the Giants are doing in terms of team building, allocating funds to positional value. You have to value the offensive line and the edge rushers on defense. They're going to win you games. Sacks end games. They end drives. And that's what the Giants have been able to do. But when you have an absolute zero, or not even a zero, you have a negative at quarterback, that's going to reverse all the things you do. If you have a quarterback that can't win you a game, he's not going to step up when it matters. Nothing else matters. You could have a great pass rush. You could have great receivers. You could have great offensive line. But if your quarterback can't make simple reads, if your quarterback can't make the right decision, just can't process what's going on the NFL field in year 6, you're not in a position to win. So that's what I have to say about the Giants. They play the Commanders this Sunday. We always play the Commanders tough. We almost beat them week 2. The Commanders are a different team, though. Jaden Daniels, I'm not going to say he's having an MVP season, but it's damn close. And he's a rookie. He's looking really good. So I'm not predicting the Giants to win this game, but I do want to see some fight. And if you had to ask me, what do I want for the Giants? I want them to lose the rest of their games. I want them to be competitive in the rest of their games. I want them to be close. But I want one of the first few draft picks, and I want Cam Ward. I want Shedeur Sanders. I need me one of these top quarterbacks. And now let me explain why Tommy DeVito last year had the worst 3-game winning streak of all time. Tommy DeVito, nice story. Went to Don Bosco Prep, Jersey kid. Love it, right? That's cool. The Giants are 1-7 on their season last year or whatever it was. Did not have a good record. We make the decision to bench Tyrod Taylor, who's definitely the better quarterback, to let Tommy DeVito play. And Tommy DeVito, what a legend, wins 3 games. And it's actually funny because me and my older brother Justin, we went to the Giants and Patriots game. And I always want my team to win, right? Like, I'm not going to be upset if they win. But boy, that day, I was at that stadium, Giants-Patriots. I'm going through my head, dude, like, this might not be a good game to win, considering Daniel Jones is out for the year. Probably going to finish with a high draft pick. So are the Patriots. It might be in our best interest to lose this game because I want a quarterback. But no, the Patriots miss a field goal at the end of that game. The Giants win. What happens? The Patriots finish a couple games better. Patriots finish a couple games worse than us. They get Drake May. Drake May looks like a baller. He's got a deep ball. I wanted Drake May. I wanted Jaden Daniels. I wanted one of those guys because we knew Caleb Williams was going to the Bears. But the Giants just won too many games at the end of their year, and they couldn't get the generational talent of Jaden Daniels or Drake May. And I'm not going to kill the team for winning because, this is their job. Obviously, they're going to try to win. But, man, like, looking back at it, was me celebrating 3 weeks of Tommy DeVito and Jersey and the Italian worth missing out on a generational quarterback that's in my division now with Jaden Daniels? Hell no. So right now, I'm willing to concede this season. Let my team be competitive. I don't really want them to win anything. Give me Cam Ward from Miami. Give me Shedeur Sanders. Give me someone. Quinn Ewers, whoever. I need to see someone else. And everyone knows this is Jones last year, but I don't even want to watch him start another game because it's just so painful to watch. It's been too long of this. But yeah, that's all I really have to say about the Giants. And I just want to a little bit just talk about the Jets game yesterday. I have a very casual approach about the Jets. I'm not a Jets fan. I don't keep up. But I will give my opinion on like the whole Jets season so far. I mean, so many expectations. You go back to last year, the New York Jets, they sign Aaron Rodgers. He gets hurt against the Buffalo Bills. I'm like, wow, like this is going to destroy their season. You sign Aaron Rodgers. I was excited to watch the Jets last year, and he gets hurt. So then we go through a year of Rodgers is coming back. All the expectation. This is going to be the year where the Jets finally step up. This is the year for them. And then it just starts off. I can't even put it into words how it starts off. It's just lackluster. And then every week, the Jets are losing, but they're always in headlines. They fire Rob Saleh. I don't know how I felt about that. I didn't think Rob Saleh was a bad coach. I think he had the defense play hard every week. But okay, you want to fire the coach, that's fine. But now all the pressure's on you. Then they go out there and they lose 2 straight games with Ulbrich, the defensive coordinator, promoted to head coach. After that, they lose both games. They sign Devontae Adams. Devontae Adams is a good receiver in this league, elite receiver in this league. But will he necessarily solve all your problems? Up until yesterday, I was going to say no. But I watched yesterday's game. Boy, the Jets look good. Aaron Rodgers looked good. And to the Jets' benefit, they're in an AFC conference where it's not too good. Compared to the NFC, it's not too good. The wild card, there's going to be 3 wild card teams like always. I think 8 wins might get you in to be a wild card team for the New York Jets. So that's the bright side looking in. You know, you're 3-6 right now. I don't think their schedule's too bad for them to go on a run here. I mean, they got the Cardinals next week, the Colts after that, Seahawks, Dolphins, Jaguars, Rams, Bills, Jets. Dolphins. That's not bad at all. Should be able to beat the Cardinals, should be able to beat the Colts. Seahawks, you're at home. Should be able to win that. Dolphins, I don't know what they're going to be by December 8th. But these are all winnable games. And when you look at the Jets roster on paper, they're more talented than a lot of teams. Defense is nasty. Sauce Gardner hasn't had the greatest year this year, but he's an elite corner in this league. You go to the offensive side of the ball, you got Garrett Wilson, you got Devontae Adams, you have Aaron Rodgers, Tyler Conklin. All these guys, these are good players in this league. They have a good roster. It's just about executing now. 2 years of hype with this New York Jets team, and now it all comes down to you have everyone. You have Devontae Adams. You fired the coach already. Aaron Rodgers is healthy. Garrett Wilson is there. Quinton Williams is doing his thing. Everyone is on the field now. And now it's just a matter of, are you going to execute and win games like you're supposed to? Because I was very high on the Jets coming on to this season. I'm thinking like, wow, they won 7 games last year with Zach Wilson as quarterback. Their defense is elite. Now you're going to insert Aaron Rodgers and keep that same team? How could they not win 12 to 13 games? And I was wrong. But now you have an opportunity looking at the rest of your schedule to go on a run. And I'm not going to say I'm going to be rooting for it because I don't really care about the Jets. But I'm going to be watching. And I kind of want to see them make a little bit of a run because it'll be good to talk about on my podcast or just talk about to other people. I know a lot of Jets fans. There's a Jets fan right here. And the pressure is on right now. The pressure's been on ever since they fired their coach. Pressure's been on, right? But now it's really on. You got Devontae Adams. Aaron Rodgers is basically running that organization. Whatever he says goes. He's like their leader. It's up to you. Because, you remove Aaron Rodgers from this situation. Let's say he decides to retire after the season, which I don't think he will. What type of future do you have? You have young guys, but you think Devontae Adams is going to want to come back and play without Aaron Rodgers? Hell no. And then you're just in quarterback purgatory just like the Giants. So they need to make the most of this Aaron Rodgers signing and just go on a run. I want to talk about that Garrett Wilson catch. I seen it all over social media. That was crazy. He literally did the Jordan logo in there. And I love Garrett Wilson. He's a dog, and I actually met him. What month was this? I think it was in February. I was in New York City. I was close to Chelsea. I was going to the Arc'teryx store because I wanted to get me a skull cap. And I was with Diego. Diego doesn't watch sports like that. But I'm walking in, and I see this, kind of tall guy. I'm like, yo, that's Garrett Wilson. He's like, huh? Because Diego don't know who that is. I say, that's Garrett Wilson. So I'm like, yo, bro, can I take a picture? Garrett Wilson, one of the nicest people I've ever met. One of the nicest celebrities I've ever met. Super chill dude. I'm sitting there talking to him. He's like, yeah, bro, I'm not even a Jets fan, but I respect your game, and I watch Hard Knocks with you in this year. It's just dope, bro. And he's just super respectful guy. We're both going into the store. He holds the door open for me and Diego. I thought that was really cool. Like, why is Garrett Wilson holding the door for me? So I'm always rooting for Garrett Wilson to succeed. And just seeing him make that catch, it was just honestly amazing to look at. One of the best catches I've seen in a long time. Obviously Odell's catch is up there, 3 fingers, whatever. But that Garrett Wilson catch, I'm not going to say it could give it a run for its money, but it's definitely one of the top 5 catches I've probably ever seen. It's better than Odell's catch. Oh, hell no. Odell caught it with 3 fingers, got interfered with, and it's just so iconic. But
it don't look as good as Garrett's.
I think Garrett's looks good on a picture, but so does Odell. But maybe I'm biased because as a Giant fan and I grew up with that. All I really have to say when it comes to the Jets, going to be watching. Whatever they do is good for the city. It's good for the market. But yeah, went through everything. Went through Dodgers, Yankees. Unfortunate that the Yankees lost. Talked a little bit about Giants, how to get in my Giants rant. Had to slander Jones a little bit because honestly he deserves it. And we talked about the Jets. But yeah, it's been a good episode of the JM Sports Podcast. We're going to be doing this a lot more. I love talking about sports. This is when I initially started podcasting. This is what it was for. sports. And I could go about this for hours, but we're going to save that for next week or whenever it is. But I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace out.